Yo, welcome to the 14th day of Halloween special. Today we are reacting to 4 true scary nighttime horror stories featuring your maker. This is posted on whose channel is it? Unit number 522. I don't think I've seen this guy's videos yet. But yo, let's react to this video and let's go. What's going on right now? What? Fucking... Why? Man, I hate jump scares, man. Hate them. Absolutely hate them.
Number 1.
Don't tell me it's in this voice, okay?
To me, when I was still living in my childhood home down in California.
California? Man, I'm in California. Well, yeah, I'm in California now. I'm in LA. Please don't scare the fuck out of me here. Please don't.
So my cousin decided to move in with my husband and I while she was attending a college nearby. My cousin and I were both working at a Lego store at the time, but I only worked mornings.
You worked at a Lego store? Man, that'd be a pretty dope job actually. A Lego store? That's killer crazy.
My husband and cousin worked nights, so there were many nights I was alone. A couple of weeks before this happened, I had been taking stuff out of my car when I realized a strange brown van with no back windows parked across the street. As I put the stuff in the trunk, the man in the van started making weird noises at me. I turned to see if I could get a good look at his face, but his black Giants baseball cap was pulled down really far.
Weird.
Thinking it was just a creepy guy, I flipped him off and went back into the house. About 2 hours later, I went outside to go somewhere, and he was still parked across the street.
That's so creepy.
Not thinking anything of it, I hopped in my car and headed to my friend's house. As I was driving, I looked in my rearview mirror and saw the same brown van following me.
Hell no.
I turned on a whole bunch of streets, and he followed me down all of them.
Nope, I'm out.
I turned onto the road that my father-in-law lived on and parked, thinking if the guy tried anything, I could just run there and be safe.
No man.
When I pulled the car over in front of my father-in-law's house, the van slowly drove by. I looked into the van, and the man put his hand into a gun position and pointed at me.
Ooh. Ooh. No, I gotta walk this one off, man. I gotta walk this one. Oh, I got a wedgie. Man, yo. Please, yo. Don't tell me this is near LA or in LA, cause oh my gosh, that'd be so creepy. I don't know what I'd do if someone like pulled a gun on me or some shit, or I don't want to know. I wouldn't even imagine if someone pulled a gun on me. If someone gestured that to me like that, like that they're about to shoot me, or actually had like a gun to me, like I don't know how I'd react. Like I'd probably shit my pants, to be honest. Like I'd be like it wouldn't just be shit. It would be like diarrhea. Like even if I just had a shit, like the moment that that moment happens, that shit automatically would just turn to diarrhea and slowly spew out my asshole. I don't know what the fuck, but yeah, I don't know what the hell I just said, but that shit would happen.
Like with the index and middle finger out and thumb pointed up, and said, "Bang!"
What
really
the
loudly.
fuck?
After that, he hauled ass and drove off.
Dude, this is crazy.
Now, I've always been a little leery of staying home alone. My house had always given me the creeps because of how poorly lit it was. When I was alone at night, I usually just stayed in the kitchen because of how bright it was. I was watching a TV show on my computer when all of a sudden I heard banging on the front door and the handle jiggling. It startled me for a moment, until I looked at the time and saw that it was around 10 p.m. and knew my cousin was going to be coming back from work about that time. I got up and opened the door, but nobody was on the porch.
Damn.
I shouted my cousin's name out, but still no response.
It's a creepy dude, man.
I called my cousin's cell, and immediately she was like, "Oh hey, I'm on my way home from work right now."
Oh, dude, no.
Before I could say anything else, there was 3 extremely loud bangs on the door that connected to the kitchen and the garage, and the knob was shaking violently I slammed the door closed, locked and chained it, and ran to my room. My aunt called me while my cousin called the police, and I stayed under a blanket until my cousin arrived.
Damn.
When she came and got me, I was led outside to talk to the police. I was trying to explain what happened, but the officers alongside of my house were distracting me. I walked over to where they were, but one of the police officers held me back. They opened the gate and saw that the door to my garage, which we always leave locked, was wide open.
Oh, shit.
All of the officers in the area pulled out their guns and went into the garage.
Damn.
But nobody was in there. Afterwards, the police told me it was probably some kids messing around, but if I ever get scared at home, to just call them and they'll send someone out. About a week later, I was watching something in my living room with my cousin and my husband. As I was passing by the window next to the front door, I realized there was a guy wearing the same baseball cap as the guy in the van, standing outside on the sidewalk,
way, bro.
staring at the house. When
No
he
way.
noticed me watching, he immediately locked eyes with me.
Oh,
And
damn.
slowly gave me the creepiest smile I had ever seen. I turned and yelled for my husband to go out there, but when I turned back around, he was gone. I will say that the baseball cap in question is really, really generic, and a lot of Giants fans wear it, so I can't say it was the exact same guy, but it felt like it was. 3 days after that, I was home alone at night again. I was on edge, but I was trying to ignore it, telling myself I was going to be okay.
It's a long-ass story, man.
I was baking cookies in the kitchen when I thought I heard a knock at my sliding glass door.
I was baking cookies earlier.
My whole body tensed
Hey.
up, and I slowly turned towards the door. The lights in the backyard were off, and the kitchen ones were on, so the glare on the window made it impossible to see if there was anyone outside.
Damn it. That always sucks.
Everything was silent for at least a few seconds, before someone banged on the door again. I screamed, but felt paralyzed in fear.
Mm-hmm.
The person ran on the deck from the sliding glass door to the 2 windows in the living room, and started knocking on them as well.
Damn.
They came back to the sliding glass door to knock.
This guy
and
just
started
likes to
trying
knock on
open the door.
things.
I finally came to my senses, grabbed my keys, and ran outside into my car. I locked myself in and dialed 911.
Mm-hmm.
We sold our house shortly after that.
No shit.
I still have a hard time staying alone, even though I'm 2 states away now.
Yo, just imagine moving into that house and not knowing what was happening before, and that guy coming to your house, and like the next owner would just be like, so scared, man. Like you wouldn't even know, like this random dude, you don't even know the backstory to it at all or anything. That'd be creepy AF.
Number 2.
That's creepy.
First off, I want to apologize for any grammar mistakes I make. English is not my native tongue. I'm in foster care, and I recently moved into the basement of a house in a much nicer neighborhood. It was an affluent area, big houses, and not a lot of traffic. My room is in the basement of the house, and my view is into the backyard. There's a motion-activated light, but it only works a quarter of the time. Anyways, I'm an insomniac, so I'm always up way later than the couple I live with. It was late at night, around 3 a.m., so it was very dark outside, and I was in my room playing the night away on my guitar. My little lamp was on, and I had the window cracked open. I'm not an anxious guy, but for some reason, I felt like something was off. Like I was being watched. I brushed it off, because the motion-activated light hadn't turned on, and I couldn't see anything or anyone in the thick darkness outside. At some point, I stopped playing and went to take a piss. As I came back into my room...
That's so generic. Point, I stopped playing and went to take a piss. Like, man, I love these commentaries sometimes.
I noticed that it was way cooler than when I had left. Again,
nope.
I brushed it off, until I saw my window had been pushed open. There's a security chain on my window that...
No, exactly why I don't keep my windows open a lot, unless I'm actually in the room. Man, that's creepy AF. What did I just, oh, okay, somehow I just went out of full screen there.
that was broken.
It's creepy, man.
Bit of my sleep-depraved idiocy. I just wrote it off as my cat coming inside to eat, while I went to go use the bathroom. Before I moved in where I live now, I lived in a seedy high-crime area, so I'm always on hyper alert at night. I went to look just to be safe, and that's when I saw him. There was a person a few meters away from my open window. Now, I'm not a big guy, but I've been in my fair share of fistfights and physical arguments, so I wasn't really worried about him fucking me up. I obviously knew that I had spotted
Dude, I
him
love this commentary.
as we made eye contact before I sprinted for the window. I got there a little before him, but somehow he managed to get his fingers inside before I slammed the window down on his fingers with all my might.
Damn, that would fucking
Hearing
kill.
a horrible cracking sound as the heavy window hit his hand.
Oh.
He didn't try
That would hurt like a bitch, man.
to retract his hand or say anything at first, but when I cracked the window open to do it again, he pulled away. I secured the windows, and he stood there with his bleeding hand held close to his body, with his eyes firmly locked with mine for about 10 seconds or so, before he ran off in the direction of the front of the house. I ran upstairs as quickly as I could, but he was nowhere in sight. I woke up the couple, but not before I checked all the doors and windows, and they called the police, while I checked everything again, and turned on the lights in the house. The police took samples of the blood on my window frame, but it didn't match anything in their system.
That
No one went
sucks.
to the hospital in a 100-kilometer radius with matching injuries in the following 5 days. To this day, I don't know who the fuck tried to break in, or if he had intentions worse than that, or if he's still around. The thing that bothers me the most is that he didn't run away when I first spotted him. I don't know how long he had been out there, lurking and spying on me in the darkness.
Yep.
So creepy guy lurking in the night. I hope your hand is severely fucked up.
Yo, it doesn't give two shits.
Number 3.
I'm an athletic 19-year-old female, but at the time this happened, I was 18. I live in a really small town with maybe less than 10,000 residents, and there are no streetlights where I live. Basically, everyone has an outside light on their front yards, and at nighttime they have to turn it on to provide lights for the streets. And believe me, it doesn't light up that much.
Mm-hmm.
It was around May of last year when it happened, and since I have a very hard time falling asleep, I used to go out on nighttime jogs at the time, between 1 and 3 a.m. It helped me fall asleep.
1 and 3 a.m.?
My boyfriend and dad were always really concerned
I
about
did the
that,
same.
because it didn't sound safe for me to go jogging around the neighborhood really late at night. But like I said, I lived in a really small town, and I always thought nothing bad could happen to me. Until that night. It was a normal night. Kind of cold since I remember having my raincoat on.
Until that night. It was a normal night. Yeah, no, it wasn't, because something's gonna happen.
I tied my shoes and went on my almost daily nighttime jogging routine. I'd say at probably around 1 or 2 a.m. I ran the same distance and took the same path, but for some reason I ran faster than normal and had to take a short walking break to catch my breath. I stopped in front of a park, a couple streets away from my house, and started walking back towards my house. But that's when I noticed him. He was standing in the middle of the park with a dog that looked to be like a husky, or something at least that big.
I want a husky.
Like I said before, there were no streetlights, and no lights in the park either. Plus, the street I was on only had 2 houses, so they weren't providing much light. So I really could not tell if he was looking at me, or even facing me at all. Obviously, it kinda shocked me to see someone wandering in a park so late at night. I was not used to seeing people in the streets around those hours. But I shook it off, and kept walking back home. But
Okay.
after a few steps, I started to feel uneasy and weirded out. So I looked over my shoulder, and I saw him walking behind me, still holding his dog on the leash.
That's weird.
He was
really
approximately
weird.
2 meters behind me.
Really creepy.
My heartbeat was already pretty high from running, but I felt it get even higher now.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel safe at all.
Nope.
Even though I tried to keep calm, I just couldn't. So I started running as fast as I could, without even looking behind me. But to my horror, he started running too.
Ah,
I
damn.
could hear his footsteps behind me.
Damn it.
After what felt like ages of sprinting through different streets, I could not take it anymore, as I was already exhausted from my jogging. So I turned into a driveway after taking a sharp turn onto another street and hid, crouched behind the bushes in the front yard. Not even 5 seconds later, I hear him take the turn and run past where I was hiding. He then stopped running a few meters in front of where I was and started looking everywhere. I, irrationally, thought he knew where I was because my heart was beating so hard that I thought he could hear it. And then he finally turned around, and I got to see him a little better. I couldn't tell how old he was, but considering he kept up with me running, he was probably less than 40, or just in really good shape. He was wearing all black, hoodie, pants, and a cap.
All the time, man, all the
His dog
time.
looked like a husky mixed with something else. He then turned back and started running again. I stayed behind until I could not hear his footsteps anymore. God, I even stayed a good 10 minutes or so after that. I was so afraid I didn't want to come out, but I had to because I was still very vulnerable in the streets, and he could come back at any time. I then took all the courage and energy I had left, came out of where I was hiding, and started sprinting back in the opposite direction he went, back towards my home, where I made it safely, and promised myself never to run late at night, ever again.
There you go. When that thing happens, then you're like, no, I'm done. Not doing that again.
This happened just last year. A couple lost on a dark road sounds like the start to every horror story, so it's fitting that that's actually where this begins. It was early November, cold, raining, and around midnight, my fiancé and I like taking spontaneous late-night drives. We typically start out on one of the main roads within our city and keep following it until we hit the next town.
Okay.
Sometimes our drives last hours. The layout of my county and surrounding counties is a little bizarre. All of the cities and towns are isolated by large spreads of woods and country. I live in a relatively large college town, but a half-hour drive in one direction can land you stranded on a jagged, unmarked gravel road in the middle of nowhere.
I wouldn't want
one of those weird small villages that no one knows about.
Nope.
It's actually pretty exciting, and that's exactly why we do it so much. So it's midnight, and we're nearly lost. Willa, my fiance, is poking around on my phone, trying to figure out what road we're on. We were on a mud path in a pit of country framed by small towns.
You're on an unmarked road, bro.
Flory, Winnica, and Tell or something. There were no other cars on the road. It's rainy and misty, and the headlights on my car aren't doing a damn thing. There are stands of trees and brush on either side of the road. We were heading north. She tells me that she thinks we're going to cross 200 Street West, which turns into Rye Road, which is a straight shot to Winnica. We made our way down the mud road for about a half an hour, and never hit it. We've always had fun on these sorts of drives. This is the first time we've ever really been on edge. Willis says that we should have already found 200 Street West already,
That's
and
weird.
asked if we passed it without noticing. I nervously ask if we should turn around, but she doesn't think we can without backing up into a tree or a ditch. I'm driving a Mazda, and it's an awfully wide turn. She begins to bite her nails while scrolling down on Google Maps. 10 minutes pass, and we finally see a little back road snaking up a hill, branching off of the road that we're on. I quickly turn down it. It's very narrow, and twigs and branches are raking the doors and windows of my car.
Damn.
We complete the climb up the road, and we find ourselves in a wide paved clearing, with a house at the back of it, tucked into the woods. Willa doesn't miss a beat and starts hissing for me to turn around. The headlights illuminate the whole property, which is in major despair. No lights, windows shattered, siding and shingles shredded. The yard is littered with scraps and trash, barrels, car parts, tools, hundreds of glass bottles, branches, slabs of concrete and rocks, and there is also a nasty old Chevy pickup. It looks like the house is sitting on top of all of it. Every inch of the property is entangled in nets of ivy and weeds.
Happens, man.
Willa points out
Freaking
moving
hoarders.
shadows and glowing spots around the yard. There are dozens of cats all around, and they're all looking at us,
Damn.
and their eyes are glimmering from the headlights.
That'd be
I almost piss myself
creepy.
when a walnut-sized rock darts out of the bush and pops against the windshield. It
What?
fractures the glass.
Damn.
Willa screams and grabs my arm. Denny, what the hell was that? Oh my god, what happened? The rain is pouring in streams down the trees, over the house, and across the pavement. All the blood runs from my face. After a few seconds, a man stumbles out from the bushes and weeds, and he's carrying a fucking shovel. He was wearing a big dirty navy coat and has a beard. Then the screen door on the house opens up, and all the cats scatter. A tall, thin, spidery woman crawls out onto the porch.
What the
She
fuck?
had long, wild gray hair. She's just up high enough on the porch that the headlights don't reach her eyes. She whips her unusually dark hands on her skirt. I have no clue what was on her hands, but that's what I remember the most about her, how dark her hands were. She stares at us. Willa is screaming and crying and slapping the door lock repeatedly. I throw the car into reverse, rolling over cinder blocks and branches, and then screech back down the road. After Willa stops crying, and there's some distance between us and the house, I start to relax. Yet, when I get out of the woods and hit a long, straight stretch of road, I notice headlights behind us.
Oh,
I get a stomachache when I
shit.
notice the car is mimicking all of our turns onto different roads. After nearly half an hour of being pursued, we finally reach Flory and pull into a gas station being visited by a few other people. I watch the vehicle pass. It's that same nasty Chevy truck we saw at the house.
Damn it.
They stalked us all the way to the next town. We waited till the truck disappeared down the road before we got out. We grabbed some food and asked for directions. On our way home, I looked in the rearview mirror more times than I did at the road ahead. When we got back early the next morning, my teeth didn't stop chattering until I fell asleep. Thankfully, we still have night road trips and run into some really weird and cool things. We haven't encountered anything to top that creep though. Since telling our families about it, we've been told to be a little bit more careful about where we go. We've also stored a knife in the glove box. I also keep my rosary in my car now, in case, I'm dying and need to say a couple of last Hail Marys. I've driven back around that area during the daytime recently, and I've not been able to find it again. I managed to find the mud road that we were on, but I've not yet found the turnoff to that particular residence. My windshield has been fixed. Willa has suggested that we have locations in mind when we go out on night drives, so we're not driving around aimlessly.
Oh shit, man. Yo, that last story was so hard for me to react to. I was so fucking scared. I was just like, holy shit, like that's creepy AF. Not knowing your location at night, and then being persuaded and shit. Yo, like I always say this, but I legit shit my pants, or piss my pants, or I don't know. It's like my pants would be wet from something. I don't even know. But anyways, I hope you guys like this video. I hope you guys like my reactions. My camera is flashing red. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.